Welcome back everybody to Tasks Season 3 and to this task number 4 in Seaside. It's time for more analysis segments and I'm joined again as always by Small1, the creator of Season 3.
Hi there.
And a pretty amazing task this time. I remember you saying that you wanted this task to be a little bit more of like a puzzle, some sort of riddle, and I think looking at the runs that I was able to see so far, it actually definitely worked in the grand scheme of things. I've seen a bunch of different routes. For me, quick shout out here to JDA. I don't know where he ended up placing, but he was by far my favorite run. I'm not sure. It was incredibly cool. I'm not sure if he made it into top 24, but super cool to watch that one. And we saw a lot of different routes, but at the end of the day, actually before we get into top 4, what made you choose these specific objectives here in Seaside? Because obviously now in Season 3 we kind of revisit all of the kingdoms we've been to previously, and Seaside is obviously pretty beautiful, especially in World Peace. But what caused you to get these specific objectives, I guess?
I ended up spending some time just running and swimming around the kingdom, Seaside Kingdom, because I knew I wanted it to be here. And I tried to come up with some objectives that are far away, and I figured with this one, the checkpoints again are a good choice, having to go from one checkpoint to another, because that forces you to move at least some distance. It ensures that not everything is super close together. And then there's 4 fountains, and they're all relatively close to pretty much every checkpoint, so I figured that would be a good option as well, is to have to ride in the fountain. And with the fountain there's like the kind of unique mechanics where you can leave the fountain at any time by pressing the Z button, or you can also use a capture warp to dram out of it, which you can see happened in top 4 and a few other runs, which was really, I was happy about, because I wanted to see that. And then there was a bunch of other things, like there's a few different ways to kill a Gushen. Like you can capture the Cheep and kill the Gushen with the Cheep. You can capture a Gushen and kill a Gushen with another Gushen. You can ground pound them. You can run out of water on land. You can run them into a fountain. There's just so many different ways of killing a Gushen that there's a lot of different options with that objective. So I wanted a lot of different ways to do each of these kind of objectives, and just to let people figure out what is the fastest. And I think we found here that people did a good job of figuring them out and ended up with some really cool runs at the end of it.
Not only cool, but also pretty close as it looks like, and this is our top 4 here. Lucidity taking this one. Wanted him to win one for a long time. He has definitely shown constant improvement since he started doing these like in the middle of Season 2 or something, and ends up getting a win here, but it is pretty close to say the least. So these 4, as we see, are very, very tight, almost like ending at like, it's like frames apart at this point. But it's almost not even worth to like start at Roller Coaster Maniac, who ended up at 4th place. Because the differences are very minor, and there's a couple interesting things to like look at all of these 4 at the same time. So some of them end up picking up different rocket flowers. They all do that basically after all of them get the checkpoint. Roller Coaster Maniac is the only one that gets the checkpoint with a cap throw. And then as they kill the Gushen here, this is probably actually a good cue for us to go back and look how it looks there at that point where they kill the Gushen, because all of them opted for that strat to ground pound the Gushen, cancel that ground pound into a dive to keep their momentum, which is definitely pretty fast there as they want to go in that direction anyways. But yeah, it's actually really hard to tell. It looks like Zen Rave might have actually been behind Roller Coaster Maniac there at the end. It is pretty tough, I noticed, to actually still take a very clean line after that Gushen straight into the fountain. But if I see this correctly, yeah, it looks like they at least basically ground pound at the same time. Very close though. What really mattered after that Gushen is basically taking like a straight line and diving into the fountain optimally.
Yeah, at the end there, it does seem like you just gotta get that optimal line, and that's what pulled other people ahead, because it seemed like they were pretty, most of them were pretty close to tied by the time they got to the Gushen, which is crazy, because I think most of them did almost like, every single person did different movement to get to that Gushen, and then pretty much everyone kills the Gushen at the same time. It looks like Lucidity gets there a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's at the end there, it seems like a few people got slightly more optimal lines to it and just made it work.
Yeah, since this task execution here, the route all of them picked with the capture warp here, which is obviously very fast at the end to pretty much get 2 objectives at the same time without even having to like dive in the water to get the cheap or anything. You basically just get the fountain and the cheap at the same time. So this was basically just a straight up line. You just needed to be clever enough to kind of figure out that you can, in this case, do a down throw there to let Cappy kind of hover close to the cheap. And then, yeah, home in as you jump into the fountain with the best timing. But I guess in this case, everything mattered. Like, a spin pond could have easily decided this one. A spin pond is actually probably one of the easiest things to lose time on a route like this, because there can be like a 0.2 second difference between a good spin pond and a like perfect spin pond.
Yeah. And most of these were pretty close to perfect, actually. I think I noticed while I was timing it, I'm almost sure Zen Raves is a frame perfect spin pound all the way through.
Yep, and
I'm not sure if the roll was optimal, but the spin pound itself was insanely fast.
Yeah, exactly, because technically, I mean, you can obviously get a frame perfect spin pound. People have been confusing this to get like a frame 1 spin pound, which is not possible because the spin pound obviously consists of different inputs and like different states. But what Smart is basically saying, he only spun for 1 frame, he only jumped for 1 frame, and he ground pounded the next frame after, so got all of that right. But yeah, super close, and I guess if any task ever shows that even if you think everything in your run worked, it might be worth going one more time until you get another run that is even better, because yeah, these top 4s get pretty close, and gotta get everything right to get in there. But all of them definitely deserving. Super interesting to see these guys actually do different stuff going over to the Gushing and still ending up so close. But very awesome task, I think. Once again, like going back through the different route executions, some very unique, interesting stuff. As far as I know, you can actually also kill Gushins with like seeds. That happened to me earlier, and I didn't know that was possible. Like if you throw a seed of them, they just die. So that's another version of potentially doing it. And yeah, pretty fun task again. But this was task number 4, so this is only half of the season done yet. Still 4 more tasks until we close out season 3. And once again, it is time to look at task number 5. What will we be doing this week?
Yeah, here's task number 5 in Bowser's Kingdom.